For 35 years, Gene McGuire didn't have a name, but he had a number, AK4192. He had spent most of his life behind bars, guilty only of being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
In 1977, Gene McGuire, a 17-year-old star athlete, went into a bar with his 24-year-old cousin Bobby. He had no idea Bobby was about to rob the place. Bobby ended up stabbing the bartender to death. Gene was found guilty of second-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison. After serving 35 years, he was released. But Gene isn't angry with his cousin or the court system. He forgave them years ago. In his book, Unshackled, he shares what helped him become free even while he was still behind bars.
Gene McGuire joins us now for the rest of the story. Welcome to the 700 Club. It's good to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here, Terry.
Let's go back to the beginning of this story if we can. You're 17 years old. A cousin that you admire that's older than you comes to visit, and you all go out drinking. You're underage, but you know a place you can go and they're going to serve you. And so you're all pretty loaded with alcohol.
We are. Yeah, drinking
that night.
Yep.
You thought you were just out for a fun night, but your cousin had a different intent. What happened that night?
Well, somewhere in the process of drinking and playing pool, he turned, said, I'm going to rob the place. And I knew I wasn't going to do that. And I had a stepbrother with us. We weren't going to do that, but that was his idea and that was planned. So we decided to leave and we parked the car down the road a little bit, stood in the parking lot. When he walked back in, he was going to rob the place and come out. And he didn't come out right away. What he did was when he walked in, he ended up stabbing and stabbed the owner to death and robbed the place.
You eventually went back in to see
Yes.
what was taking him so long and what the problem was. And I mean, here you are, a 17-year-old kid. Did you recognize, or were you too inebriated at the time to realize the ramifications of what had just happened there?
Well, definitely it soaked in later the next day. But when I walked up to the, he was behind the counter and I yelled to him to stop and then we waited for him. And then, but the next day was a real sobering moment to realize that the murder had really taken place.
And then, you know, Sid, your stepbrother, had left the scene, and he kind of knew about this before you all went. He knew that this was going to be at least a robbery.
That was, well, that was, yeah, that was, yeah, he knew there would be a robbery.
But you didn't. You're kind of the kid in this deal that just gets dragged along through the whole thing. So now you're on the lam with this cousin of yours, and you're kind of led into a really dark world that is, as much as you might not have been happy with your life before, this was really not what you'd had planned. Were you scared? What did you think during this time?
Very intimidated, I think, very lost, just following, really, I was following a cousin who thought he had a plan, and he didn't. And we found ourselves up in shooting galleries and drug-infested apartments up in New York until I turned myself in.
You finally come back, you turn yourself in, and I think you came back thinking that you were going to just tell your story, explain what happened, be exonerated, go home with your mom. Kind
of in my mindset, yes.
But in fact, you know, you're arrested, you're shackled, you're taken away, and in the court case process, your lawyer, court-appointed lawyer, tells you you need to plead guilty. Otherwise, you're going for life.
Yes.
What did you expect would happen?
Well, the opportunity was to plead guilty and testify against my cousin. My cousin was agreeable to that too, and do what you can to save yourself. And so I testified, hoping that I would receive something less, even manslaughter. That was a conversation between an attorney and I, possibly 10 years. But when they gave me life without parole, I heard it, but the reality didn't set in until I got to the state correctional institution.
I'm not sure something like that would set in until you're walking it out.
Until you start hearing from other men serving life in Pennsylvania, and they said, young buck, you will die in this place, you will not get out.
Wow. How did you handle that mentally? What did that do to you?
Well, I kind of gave up in a sense of, okay, this is my lot in life. And I just started doing my sentence, and I got involved in, you know, education and some college work and some programs and trying to figure out how a 17-year-old ends up in prison for life.
There were things that you had to battle in there that are the things that everybody fears, I think. First of all, solitary confinement a number of times. Just rape from other guys that are in there, being beaten by other guys that are in there, just the whole 9 yards of it. How in the world did you get to Jesus in the middle of all of that?
Well, I had plenty of people praying for me. A mother who prayed for me, but I had
That'll do it.
Yeah, that will do it. Yeah, I said, go get them, Lord. And but I had other inmates in the prison system praying too, and they were witnessing to me. And I write about a guy named Warner, Big Moses, in a book, and he was a faithful witness and a testimony to me. But it was encouragement to come to a 3-day weekend revival where I went Friday night, exciting. Saturday I met Larry Titus, the pastor who stuck with me all those years, and he shared that he got saved at 4 and knew God's call in his life at 5, and it just made me very envious to know Jesus, that a 5-year-old could have a plan. And so the next day I came back on a Sunday morning, and around 10:30 in the morning, went up front and got on my knees in front of the prison chapel, in front of all the other inmates, and just said, Jesus, set me free. I want to live for you. And chains broke off. So.
You know, to be in the scenario you were in, there had to be so much bitterness, so much anger. In coming to Christ, the chains broke off, and you were able to forgive others and receive forgiveness yourself. What's God doing in your life now? I mean, so here you're in there. First of all, let's back up a minute. You're in there 30-some years, and then you get notice that your case is going up for review, and you get free. I mean, it's an amazing story.
It is.
Could you even grasp that? I mean,
no, it was sort of like my mindset was running to be, you know, one day I could drive a car, one day I could eat at a restaurant, one day I'll be a family for Christmas, and then I would think, no, that's too much. Let me come back to my everyday Christian life in the prison, where and it was just a struggle. I'd pray, and then I'd be like, but my life was right there in the prison. I was living for the Lord in the prison system.
Wow, it's an amazing story. And today you walk freely. Your life has been restored to you. You have an amazing job. You get to tell other people about the Jesus who set you free. I mean, it's quite a miraculous story. Your book, Unshackled. What do you want people to take away from this?
That there's no prison, whether it's with bars and chains, or a broken marriage, or a failed business, financial crisis. Jesus can set you free, and you don't realize how much of a bondage those things are when you get angry over the situation, circumstances. If you can give that to the Lord, God will forgive you and help you to forgive, and then set you free, and you watch what He does.
Gene is walking proof. We've only scratched the surface of his story. I'd love for you to know more about it. It's pretty incredible. So get his book. It's called Unshackled. It's available nationwide, and it's full of the grace and the mercy and the freedom that comes from knowing Christ. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
what
Terry.
a story.
God
love
you
bless
guys.
you. Yeah,
Thank you
not
so
enough
much.
time to get into all of it, but get the book. Get the book.